Hi friends, welcome to Morning Albums. In this video, we're going to talk about the best albums of 2022. Hey everyone, Kyle here. So here we are. I'm super excited. I love this time of year. It's the end of 2022 and I'm going to wrap up some of my favorite releases of the year. So a couple of ground rules before we start. These are new releases in 2022, so not reissues. And I'm not ranking any of these. As we get closer to the end of the video, I am going to separate my absolute favorites from the rest of the pack, but these are not ranked in any specific order. And just the usual disclaimer for these types of videos, music is subjective. These are my favorites from the year. That doesn't mean they're necessarily better than any of your favorites. These are just what I'm considering the best. Please drop your list in the comments. I'd love to hear. It gives me a chance to discover new music or just talk about some albums I might have missed. So we're just here to talk about great music, so let's get into it. First off, we have Big Thief, and this is Dragon New Warm Mountain, I Believe in You. I had to read that one off the back cover here, I'm not gonna lie. So this is an indie folk rock album. I've been listening to Big Thief for quite a few years now, and I've always enjoyed their work, but this is probably my favorite yet. It's a long album with about 20 songs, but I'm always nervous when I approach a double album because I usually think, hey, you could probably cut this down in length and featured some of your best work. But this, honestly, everything in here is really, really strong. On this one, they've kind of introduced more country elements to the songs, and it features they're just great songwriting, Adrian's fantastic vocals. Some of these songs, you know, you might think they're a little undercooked because a lot of them don't have a bridge. It just could be like first chorus, but they're just so strong and they sound so good. The production is a little raw. Not a lot of bells and whistles to this one, but just great songs like Change, Time Escaping, Spud Infinity. Sparrow is one of my favorites, which sort of has this Adam and Eve motif in it. It seems like it's a commentary on, you know, womanhood and how women are seen in society and the struggles they have to overcome. And I'm reading into that from the lyric, she has the poison inside her, she talks to snakes and they guide her. I'm assuming that comes from the point of view of someone that's acting in bad faith and oppressing women. I'm not totally sure what Adrian had in mind and the crew when they wrote the song, but that's my take on it. But just great songs. I love the packaging on this. I got the CD here. There's some nice pictures inside and a nice booklet as well. And as I said, you know, it's a long one, but it's really strong, never gets old, and doesn't overstay its welcome either. So one of my faves of the year, this is Big Thief, Dragon New Warm Mountain, I Believe in You. Then we have Denzel Curry with Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. And Denzel, as well, I've been paying attention to his career over the last few years and has delivered really strong projects. I really like how Denzel has sort of this chaotic vocal approach where he can almost be yelling. It's almost like punk at times in his delivery. But this one is a little more pulled back, a little more reserved, a little more introspective. The beats are a little more mellow, a little more jazzy. And the result is just a really strong album. The lyrics are a little more introspective and are coming to terms with society, with Denzel's own behavior toward women and struggles with alcohol. Just a really cool album, very self-reflective and a great release from Denzel. I love to see him going in this direction, but I also do love some of that more chaotic approach to his music as well. So it's great to see that he can kind of deliver on both fronts, and I'm very excited to see where he goes next. Then we have Drug Church, and this is Hygiene. This is just a really killer post-hardcore album with just heavy guitars, catchy lyrics or catchy melodies, catchy hooks. I love their approach to lyrics, which can be sort of sarcastic at times. And I love when vocalists and lyricists are able to incorporate sarcasm in their music effectively. But these songs just, they just rip. There's like song after song, just heavy, packs a punch, rips, just good punk. The guitars are really heavy and loud. And going back to those sarcastic lyrics, you know, one of the opening tracks says, you know, chasing moments and hoping they invoke hits. Hope is all you got. That's like kind of the attitude, a little nihilistic, but just straightforward. There's other songs like Detective Lieutenant that seem to be talking about separating art from the artist, and as well as putting power in the consumer. So suggesting that the consumer is the one that gives art its meaning. And even though an artist can write something with a specific intention or direction, at the end of the day, the listener can take a whole new meaning out of that. And that's important as well. So really cool project. I'm going to be paying attention to Drug Church in the future. If you like bands like Turnstile, this is just like, this would be right up your alley. Then we have Carly Rae Jepsen with The Loneliest Time. Now, I've been a Carly fan for years. I really love Emotion. I love Dedicated. I love the Emotion and Dedicated B-sides. So I've seen Carly live. Just a fan. This is probably, I'm going to be honest, maybe my least favorite project of hers to date. Since Emotion, I should say. But there's still just some bangers on this one, like Surrender My Heart, Talking to Yourself, Shooting Star. Some of these songs go in a different direction, like Far Away and Western Wind, where they almost go in sort of like an almost 90s pop kind of, and I don't mean this in a bad way, like a Wilson Phillips or something like that. Just a little different sound from her. Everyone kind of compares Carly to like 80s pop music, which is totally valid because a lot of the influences are very synth heavy and you know, have those 80s vibes. But some of these tracks almost kind of harken to the 90s with a little more like acoustic elements to them as well. So really cool. There's some songs here I'm still kind of like, I don't know how I feel about, like Beach House, and there's the song The Loneliest Time. I'm kind of still getting warmed up to. I don't know if I love them, but a fan of Carly. I feel like she always brings the bops. She always writes thoughtful music, and explores interesting sounds. So I just think this is a fun, great pop release for 2022 and definitely worth checking out. Next we have Lilien Rosarian with Every Flower in My Garden. Now this is a really cool project. They use tape loops, field recordings, and they sample these things into like a sound collage. Just really cool, glitchy, tape loopy music. Can be very lush and peaceful at times, but then other times can be a little noisy and chaotic. It's just a really cool ride, and I love this. I got this on cassette, and the tape itself is really cool. It's got some nice design on it. I've been spinning this a lot, and if you work in an office like me, just great to throw on the headphones and focus on your work. Just great sounds on this one. I'm loving it. So this is Lilien Rosarian with Every Flower in My Garden. Then we have Soul Glow with Diaspora Problems. This is a super in-your-face record. Hardcore punk, but kind of with a little bit of a hip-hop influence. And I know like rap rock is really hard to pull off. Obviously, you know, in the early 2000s, there was a lot of hokey rap rock music, and this straddles the line really well, and it delivers. The vocalist just has such awesome delivery, and it just can hit you in the face sometimes, just great. And then that hip-hop influence is obviously shown in that vocal delivery, but very cool stuff. Intense, aggressive, explosive, energetic. Just everything you'd want in a hardcore punk album. It just rips. So check this one out. It's so glow. Next we have Rosalía with MOTOMAMI. Now, I've been a fan of Rosalía for years as well, and this is a really, really great album. I think I like the 2018 album. I'm blanking on how to pronounce the name, but I think I like that one a little more. But this is just, it's so, there's so many different influences, like obviously pop music, flamenco, reggaeton, club music, trap, just so many different influences on this thing, and it's delivered so well. There's the bangers, which are, of course, infectious, and then there's the ballads where Rosalía flexes a little bit more of her vocal chops, and those are completely satisfying as well. There's a track on here called Candy that borrows from a melody from a Burial song, which I love because I love Burial. And there's tracks like Hentai that are just so heartfelt, and it's just Rosalía and piano, but you can just feel the emotion out of her voice, and it's brilliant. And Rosalía has a confidence and a swagger that's just so hard to match, and I think that's why she connects with so many people and has such a dedicated following and has people championing her work, because she's willing to take these chances and she does it so effortlessly, and I just love it, and I will continue to be a fan and pay attention to her music. This is Rosalía, MOTOMAMI, and just one of my favorites of the year. Then we have Makaya, McCraven, and this is In These Times. I've talked about this one quite a bit on the channel, so I won't go too much into it, but it's like a jazz fusion album released on International Anthem, which I've been talking a lot about lately. It's a label that I love that's doing a lot of modern jazz, modern classical, ambient stuff. Just great album. It's got that jazz fusion vibe. Makaya plays drums, but there's also sampling and synthesizers. There's chamber elements like viola. We have violist Marta Sofia Honer, who you'll see later on this list. But there's also Jeff Parker, who plays guitar. So just a great supporting cast. Great jazz sounds with those chamber elements. Really lovely listen. Check this one out. This is Makaya, McCraven, and this is In These Times. Then we have Pusha T, and this is It's Almost Dry. This is coming off of their last release, Daytona, which I loved, and a lot of people, it received a lot of critical acclaim. But this one is good, is strong as well. Pusha T just sounds like a menace on this album. I mean, it's not like he's doing horrorcore rap or anything like that, but this is a dude I just would not want to be on their bad side. And his flow is incredible. The lyrics are incredible. The beats are awesome. There's one line in this that I just found so vicious, and it was, "Seeing you rappers apply for the stimulus, live in a lie, but die for your images." And it just seemed brutal. That's on the track, Just So You Remember. Just criticizing artists for acting like they make millions of dollars, I guess, while being able to apply for the stimulus check. And like I said, wouldn't want to be on this guy's bad side, but great album. The beats just hit, vicious lyrics, great stuff. Then we have Hval with Heavy Pendulum. I was not familiar with Hval, but I know they're a pretty prolific band and have a number of releases. This is actually my first album that I've ever heard of theirs, and I really liked it. It's like stoner metal, just really heavy riffs, catchy choruses. I think if you're a fan of bands like Queens of the Stone Age and maybe to a lesser extent like Mastodon, like this would be like right up your alley. But just super cool. A lot of just tracks that just rip on this one, and yeah, I loved it. Loved to play it in the car. It got me pumped up, got me ready for my day. So this is Hval, Heavy Pendulum. Then we have Florence and the Machine with Dance Fever. This is another band I never really listened to. Obviously, I know the hits. I've heard the hits, but I don't think I ever really listened to a full album of theirs until this one, and I really liked it. Really strong indie pop with, a lot of lush instrumentals and songs that sort of just build and build into this like really satisfying climax. There's songs like Choreomania that I loved, which had this line, "You say rock and roll is dead, but is that just because it hasn't been resurrected in your image? Like if Jesus came back, but in a beautiful dress," and all the evangelicals were like, "Oh yes." I just think that was such a cool line. There's the song, The Bomb, which I don't know if this was Florence's intention, but it seems to be about self-sabotage. It's like, the lyrics are something like, "I don't love you, I just love the bomb." Like the drama or the sabotaging of an event. And I think she says like, "Buildings falling is the only thing that turns me on." So it's just a lot of great lyrics, great production. Obviously, you know, they're strong instrumentalists, but there's that electronic. They bring a lot of electronics into it as well. This CD is cool. It seems to include a signed photo from Florence, which is cool. I like the insert. Just I really love this album. Obviously Florence is a great vocalist. She can really belt them out, but I wasn't aware I would be as into this as I was, and I'm certainly glad I picked it up. And I look forward to kind of going back and exploring those albums I missed. So this is Florence and the Machine, and this is Dance Fever. Really love this one. Next up we have Slow Grass by Lake Mary. Now this is from the artist Chaz Primic, who is in a band called Fubatsushi, which I really love. And it features some of Chaz's Fubatsushi bandmates like Patrick Shiroshi and Chris Jussel, I believe, as well. And just a really cool acoustic guitar with some field recordings. Patrick lends some saxophone and vocals as well. And I talked about in one of my other videos, the whole track is pretty restrained, the opening track, with some subtle guitar and some nice saxophone, but then toward the end, they get a little more chaotic, where Chaz is really frantically strumming on the guitar, and then Patrick is playing this chaotic saxophone piece along with that. And I just really enjoy it. I thought it was a great climax for the track. Just really cool sounds on this, really cool field recordings. And I love everything the Fubatsushi folks do, so I always check out their work, and this is no different. One of my faves of the year for sure. Lake Mary, Slow Grass. Then we have Jenny Hval. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but this is the album Classic Objects. And I know Jenny's previous work has been a little more experimental, can be a little more challenging at times, but this is an art pop release. It's pretty accessible, and just great songs, great instrumentation. I really love the track American Coffee, which seems to explore a relationship between Jenny and their mother. Just great stuff. And it has some cool lines like, "What is home but the place you'll be dying?" Pretty bleak, but also like really powerful. Yeah, I really like this release. It came out earlier in the year, so I'm a little rusty on it. I'll have to revisit, but I did really enjoy it when it came out. That's Classic Objects by Jenny Hval or Jenny Hval. This is Chat Pile with God's Country. This is like a sludge metal, post-punk, noise rock album. The lyrics are very nihilistic, very bleak, but the vocals are so unhinged and chaotic. There's really powerful songs on this, like the song Why, which explores homelessness in the US, and the singer keeps asking, why do homeless people have to live outside when there's so many buildings that are empty with heat on? And it's just incredibly powerful. Yeah, but like songs that take on really bleak aspects of our society, and I think that's reflected in the album cover, which is very industrial and kind of, I don't know, when you hear the album, the content of the album, it makes the cover seem so much more bleak. But yeah, I got this on cassette, really loving it. Just a great, powerful release, great vocals, very punk and can be metal at times too. Sometimes the songs even, and I hope this isn't a turnoff for you, but like can even remind me a bit of like Korn, like those early Korn albums where his voice is just so chaotic, but there's that heavy thudding, you know, palm muted guitar going on. I just love it so much. So this is Chat Pile, God's Country. Then we have Jeremiah Chiu and Marta Sofia Honer, and this is recordings from the Åland Islands. I told you Marta Sofia Honer would make this, and this is sort of like an ambient sound collage, modern classical album. Very relaxing, very peaceful to listen to. There's, you know, synthesizers, there's piano, Marta plays the viola, but just a really cool listen. Check this out. I believe they didn't really intend to make this an album. They were helping a friend move, or their mother set up like a bed and breakfast in the Åland Islands, and they started making music. And there's a lot of field recordings from their stay there, and just a super cool listen. So check this out. This is Jeremiah Chiu and Marta Sofia Honer. Then we have White Ward with False Light. This is a atmospheric black metal album, but at times there's some like dark jazz elements. Like you'll be listening to like heavy black metal blast beats, and then the next second there'll be like some soft acoustic guitar with a saxophone over it. It's just like a marriage of all different types of genres. On one song, it goes like there's those black metal elements happening, and all of a sudden it turns into like almost like a new wave, post-punk, Joy Division, New Order kind of song, and you're like, where did this come from? Just a really cool release, and I love the packaging. It comes with a really cool book inside. Really loving this one. So yeah, black metal with a twist. This is White Ward, and this is False Light. And next I want to talk about Lil Sim's album, No Thank You. I don't have a physical copy of this because I don't think there are any at the moment, but this came out sort of late in the year. This is a December release, so I'm still kind of warming up to it, but I can tell it's going to be one of my favorites of the year. And Lil Sims is always producing really quality work. On this one, seems a little more minimalistic, a little more restrained, a little jazzier, but still that great, she's got a great flow and, you know, that conscious hip hop kind of sound and vibes. But yeah, great lyrics, great flows, great beats. That's Lil Sims, No Thank You. I look forward to kind of listening to this more and more, but I wanted to include it in my favorites because I've already been loving it in the short time that it's been out. So Lil Sims, check it out. Then we have Artificial Brain with their self-titled album, Artificial Brain. This is a death metal release. As you would expect with death metal, you know, brings the riffs, brings those low guttural death metal growls, but also is surprisingly just melodic at times and downright beautiful. So really recommend this one. And there's sort of like a sci-fi-ish kind of vibe going on here. But yeah, I was loving this after it came out. I actually just got the CD for Christmas, so I'm going to be listening to it even more. But yeah, very cool release. I think unfortunately the singer is leaving after this album, but just great piece of work. So that's Artificial Brain with their self-titled album. Then we have Kendrick Lamar, and this is Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Kendrick loves a concept album, and he delivers on this one. This is almost like a therapy session. It tackles a lot of different subjects, but very introspective. Takes on, you know, a lot of self-reflection, but there's like a very heavy song called We Cry Together, which kind of reenacts a domestic dispute, and it's honestly a tough listen, but an important listen. A lot of self-examination and songs that, you know, talk about idolization of artists. But then there's bangers like N95, but then there's songs like Father Time that kind of reflect on like the toxic masculinity of that fatherhood can bring in some instances, like, and how like some fathers instill in their kids that like crying is a sign of weakness. Just very powerful songs. I think I like this more than his last album, Damn. Maybe not as much as To Pimp a Butterfly or Good Kid, Mad City, but just really cool. I love how Kendrick kind of brings the concept and runs with it. And obviously the lyrics, the flows are all high quality as Kendrick usually brings. So great project, Kendrick Lamar. This is Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Then we have Mesa with the album Close. This is a really cool doom metal, stoner metal album, but also has elements of like jazz and psych rock as well, with a really cool vocalist, and she just delivers really powerful performances throughout this album. Love the packaging to this, came with a nice booklet. Just a great album. I love their last album before this as well, so I look forward to following their work. But yeah, this is Mesa, Closer. Then we have FKA Twigs with Capra Songs. I really like this. This is like a mixtape, and it's a little more accessible than some of her other projects. Her other projects can be a little more experimental, a little more art poppy, but not to say that this isn't. It's just I think there's a little more trap influence, a little more club. The song Meta Angel even kind of veers into that like glitch pop sound, like maybe like in the vein of like a Charlie XCX. But yeah, just cool songs. I really like this one. I always love her work. Think she does interesting stuff, and this is no different. So FKA Twigs, Capra Songs. Next up we have Sudan Archives with Natural Brown Prom Queen. I kind of came into this one later in the year, but I really love it. It's sort of like an R&B, neo-soul, hip-hop record. Very cool. Sudan plays violin, which I wasn't really familiar, which I didn't know until I saw them play live I saw a clip on YouTube, and that's kind of interwoven throughout the album. But there's songs there's playful songs, there's a lot of sexuality, but there's also introspective songs like Homemaker and Selfish Soul, where they're asking, am I good enough? And then there's really neat lines like, oh, all she wants to do is watch Sailor Moon. So it can be a little playful at times too. So I'm just really loving this one. A lot of great production, a lot of great beats. I love Sudan's vocals. A really cool listen. So this is Sudan Archives, and this is Natural Brown Prom Queen. Okay, so now we're moving into my absolute favorite albums of the year. And I'm not ranking these either, but I'm just gonna say these were just a notch above the rest for me. First off, I don't have a physical copy of this because I don't know if they're available, but I hope they are soon. This is Silvana Estrada with Marchita. Silvana is a Mexican folk pop artist, and the songs are just very sparse, very minimalist, like sometimes just guitar, like acoustic guitar with some flickers of piano. There's strings and clarinets and things like that on occasion, and some production as well. But where this album really shines is just these beautiful, beautiful vocal melodies, and the way Silvana delivers these words and just twists them into these beautiful, beautiful melodies. Like it's amazing. And the way on some songs her vocal melody follows the string melody is so beautiful. And her oohs and ahs, I know that's kind of a weird description for something that someone's doing on how someone's singing on an album, but like the way she can stretch an ooh or an ah, or not necessarily words, but just those vocalizations, it's just so powerful. And I love this record so much. Just sparse, beautiful, great singing, great songwriting, great melodies. And I feel like this is the kind of music a lot of like pop stars in the US want to make, but when they do, it ends up coming off like yacht rocky and just silly and overproduced. But this is just so wonderful. So Silvana Estrada, Marchita, loving this record. One of my absolute faves of the year. Then we have Danger Mouse and Black Thought, and this is Cheat Codes. And this is just an incredible hip hop release. The beats and the production by Danger Mouse are incredible. Black Thought, one of the best rappers to ever do it. There's those old school soul samples, Black Thought's doing a lot of boastful rapping, but then on songs like Cheat Codes, he tackles issues like, you know, the issues that that young people can suffer from in underserved communities. There's other cool songs like Belize that features MF Doom, and just to hear MF Doom again is so wonderful, especially on a Danger Mouse beat. And then there's a song, Aquamarine, that is so cinematic. It's like, has these strings and it just sounds like it's made to be on in a movie. So I am loving this. Danger Mouse and Black Thought, Cheat Codes, check it out. One of my absolute faves of the year. Then we have Black Country, New Road, and this is Ants from Up There. I am loving this, and it's been, I've seen it referred to as one of the best rock albums of the year, and I cannot disagree. This is post-punk with a lot of elements of like chamber music. There's a lot of strings, there's pianos, there's brass, it's just incredibly creative album, and the vocals are so emotional and powerful. Songs like The Place Where He Inserted the Blade, where he's screaming like, show me the place where he inserted the blade. It's so powerful. And I'm just loving the clash of like that post-punk style with those chamber elements. It's a wonderful mesh of instrumentation. And this is just, the musicianship is very tight. The lyrics are powerful. Shout out to the lyrics. She's got Billie Eilish style, which I've seen everyone commenting on. Just great, memorable music. Love this. So happy to own it. One of my faves from the year for sure. Then we have Beyonce with Renaissance. This is just a love letter to house music, and it is delivered so well. Every track just flows into each other so seamlessly. Beyonce's vocals are so powerful, and I love it when she gets a little rasp in her voice. The cut Break My Soul is just like classic 90s house, but then, you know, there's also like elements of like soul music in this as well. There's just an insane stretch of songs on here that it's just so good. I can't say enough good things from the production, from the vocal performance. I know, you know, it might be like a obvious choice. Beyonce is such a mainstream artist, and maybe it's not the cool choice, but who cares? Love it. Love Beyonce. Love this album. This might be one of her best. And if anyone tries to tell you she's a singles artist, she is not. She has made awesome albums, and this is no different. So this is Beyonce Renaissance. And last but not least, we have Dawn Richard and Spencer Zahn, and this is Pigments. And I am just loving this album. It's sort of a combination of that ECM style jazz, which is jazz that features a lot of classical elements. There's clarinets, there's acoustic and electric guitars, there's cello, there's violin, there's viola, drums, there's saxophone, clarinets. Just wonderful, wonderful music. Can almost be like ambient at times, sometimes modern classical, but always jazzy. And on top of that, you have Dawn Richard's very cool processed vocals, and the juxtaposition between this really organic instrumentation between those processed vocals is just really neat. And I love the result. And I don't know, this is, I said before, this might be my album of the year. And I hate, like, I have a really hard time ranking albums. But yeah, I really love this one. And it comes at a time when I've been really interested in ECM style jazz, with like Pat Metheny. And this album just reminds me of those. And Dawn, I've always loved Dawn's music. I think she does really interesting work. And for her to take this turn into this ECM style jazz sound, I'm here for it. So that's Dawn Richard and Spencer Zahn, and this is Pigments. All right, everyone, thank you for sticking around and watching. That was my favorite albums of 2022. the best albums of 2022, in my opinion. Please drop a comment and tell me what your favorite albums of the year is. If you have a year-end list, drop it in the comments. I'd love to see. And just thanks for watching. I've had a wonderful time on YouTube so far. I'm really new. This is maybe my 10th video, so I appreciate you paying attention to my channel. Please follow me on Instagram at Morning Albums, where I post more short form content of my record collection and CD collection and cassette collection. So thanks for watching. I hope you had a great 2022. Looking forward to talking more music with you in 2023, and take care.